भूता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मयेधि वेदस्य माणिस्थ श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Om. May my speech be firmly established in my mind. May the mind too be firmly established in my speech. May there be perfect correspondence between my thoughts, words, and actions. O self-effulgent Lord, be revealed in my consciousness. May the truths of the scriptures come to me. Let me never forget what I learned from them and lead my life day and night according to their teachings. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Let us feel our innermost self as a steadily burning candle flame. Let us concentrate on that. I am seeing this bright flame in my heart. I am seeing that alone. Everything else body and mind, all surroundings, the whole universe, all is merged, consumed in the flame of my true self. All conflicts are resolved in this luminous presence. This self alone is. It is divine. It is luminous. It is ever free, ever perfect. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Can you please sit here? That's too cold out there on the floor. So let us begin today's discussion with our usual prayer. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashvapaham Shravanamangalam Shrimadattatam Bhuvi Grinanti Te Bhurida Janaha. We have been studying this very special biography of Sri Ramakrishna, whose life is very difficult to understand because it is uh, very different from the way we live our life. Our life is led in conflict. It is being led uh, with all the bondage around us, and yet the desire to get liberated. We have constant problems which do not have solutions. It is, and yet it appears that there is the solution, but when we approach it, it doesn't solve anything. It is like the knot. It is. There are some knots which can be untied, and there are knots which, well, they cannot be basically untied because they are just the two ends are just fused together, and therefore there is no separating them, and yet we keep on trying. That is our life in this world. Sri Ramakrishna's life is free from all this, but yet there is the assumption, or the assumption word has a different connotation too, but he is assuming a human body like us, showing how one can get beyond these knots in life, beyond these contradictions in life. Uh, he is not bound by anything, but just like in a play, a person assumes a role, and that assuming that role does not make that person forget the actual identity. That person might be some genie, but then is performing the role of Cleopatra. And now, when she is in the role on the stage, she won't respond if you, from the audience, if you say, "Hey Jenny," she will not answer, because then the play will be all disturbed. So, because there she is Cleopatra, she is acting like all that. There is no trace of Jenny in her behavior, but inside she knows that she is not Cleopatra. After this 2-3 hours of stage show, she is going back as Jenny. And she has nothing to do much with the person who is acting as Anthony. Anthony will go in one's own way, and this so-called Cleopatra will also go in her own way, like Jenny. It is John Smith might be the Anthony, knows that I am John Smith. For a little time I am this Anthony in this Anthony and Cleopatra play. So this is the play. So Sri Ramakrishna is in this play. That is how the title of this biography is. Leela Prasanga, divine play. Divine on the stage of this world, appearing as a human being. So, is aware of the true nature, the divinity. That is where we differ from that. That Sri Ramakrishna looks like us, not that he has 4 legs. Just like us has 2 legs. There are no horns on his head like a cow. Just like our head eats whatever, like normal people what we eat, he also eats. He speaks the same language like other people are speaking. nothing very special as such from outside. He is a man. And yet, where we differ is that there in Sri Ramakrishna is the total unflinching awareness of the divinity. Just as somebody assumes an identity in the stage, on the stage that is the identity, but even then that person is, yes, aware that I am not that. So it is Shankaracharya gives an analogy that some man assumes the role of an enchanting woman, and then is doing all sorts of tricks, and the people watching, they are getting attracted to so-called her. Is very they are just taken in by all that acting. But that man is not getting attracted to this girl because he knows I am man. It is that is a completely different thing. So Sri Ramakrishna, although appears like a man, is divine, and therefore can lead us, can take us out of this terrible quagmire that we have stuck in. It is very difficult situation here, in that it is here the death gets the name life. It is the suffering gets the name happiness. That is all, the instability gets the name stability. It is, and there is no solution to it. Absolutely. You may feel that, well, this will solve all problems. No, it will just change the form of the problems. It is, you think that, well, it is I will take it out from the frying pan and it will be relief, but it falls in the fire. So that is how our solutions are. But Sri Ramakrishna tells you to go beyond this, shows the way beyond. And here there are these examples discussed. This particular volume of this book is called Sri Ramakrishna's Guru Bhava. Sri Ramakrishna appearing as the teacher. So, and some examples are given here how the teachership is working. There are hundreds of people who were benefited by coming in direct contact with Sri Ramakrishna. But the author has chosen just a few prototypes so that we can see how in various ways for different mentalities how Sri Ramakrishna's teachership worked. And he took very prominent examples deliberately because prominent examples become attractive. So he took this example of Mathur Babu that we are discussing here. Mathur Babu was a very rich man, owner of that Kali temple, where that whole temple complex where Sri Ramakrishna was employed as an ordinary priest, earning just a few pennies somehow. It is also in society too, Mathur Babu was a very well-known and person with lot of prestige and power. Sri Ramakrishna was considered as an insane person. So there is so much of gap between the two, and yet Mathur becomes a tremendously ardent devotee of Sri Ramakrishna because of so many experiences. He was not a devotee who would just believe something because somebody has said. He tested Sri Ramakrishna. He was a worldly person, a skeptic, and also had a modern education, and so was not of that type who will just believe anything, but every step he would test Sri Ramakrishna in various ways. We saw this in our earlier classes, that how Mathur Babu thus having seen Sri Ramakrishna in different stages, witnessing his tremendous renunciation, unique renunciation, his complete lack of ego, and that very special love for God. So thus he became now that devotee, and then he saw Sri Ramakrishna as Shiva and Kali together. That was the vision that was described earlier, that Sri Ramakrishna was just walking in that veranda, and from the room above, Mathur Babu just saw him. Sri Ramakrishna was not at all aware that somebody is looking at him. And Mathur Babu sees that when he was coming facing to him, he looked like Shiva, and then was going back, looked like Kali and Shiva. So therefore he ran down and fell on the feet of Sri Ramakrishna. And but that doesn't mean he stopped testing Sri Ramakrishna. This is also, he saw that Sri Ramakrishna is divine, and yet could not take away that idea from the mind that he has to take care of Sri Ramakrishna. Now if he is God, who is to take care of whom? I take care of God, or God takes care of me? But this is how the delusion again comes in. This is very nicely described in the life of Krishna, Rama, that as children they both had shown their moms that they are divine through various incidents, and but yet the mother sense would come immediately. No, is my child, I have to take care of my child. And would that therefore Yashoda would scold, chastise that little Krishna, would punish him, give him time out, or whatever the versions of time out those days were. Once she tied him to a big mortar. So, and while tying itself, she saw that this is very strange, because she could not find enough rope to tie this little child. Now there was no dearth of ropes. They were all cowherd people. Lot of rope. And yet somehow all rope collected together was not still enough to tie this little boy. That should have told her that no, it is not an ordinary thing. It did tell her. But yet, what happened? Krishna saw that my mom is now at her wit's end, and so therefore immediately assumed a small form, and then so Mother Yashoda could tie him. Now behave. So it is like that. So it is God in human form. It is very beautiful play. The devotees keep on thinking about this, that how even though God assumes this little form, acts like an ordinary human being, and does all these things, and in and through each of those ordinary actions is powerful manifestation of the divine. This is the wonders of the wonders. This is the wonder of the wonders, that although divine appears like man, and although appearing like man, the divinity just manifests. So, one can give many examples to illustrate this, but it still remains a tremendously inexplicable phenomena in the spiritual world. So, here we are now reading the story of Mathur, and let us continue on page 497. Mathur and his wife felt wholeheartedly the Master's infinite grace as a guru towards them. They considered him to be God and surrendered themselves to him. We find clear proof that they did not hide anything in their minds from him. Both of them would say, Father is not a human being. Of what avail would it be to hide anything from him? He is omniscient and knows the inmost secrets in every human mind. These were not mere words. They behaved according to this understanding. We saw this last time, that it is whatever is we try to hide, we cannot hide it from the self. And even the apparent self may miss something, the innermost self will not miss. I tell that story many times. One gentleman who earlier used to do the fruit cutting for our daily worship. I gave him this work because I saw him while cutting in the kitchen things, that while cutting he would put a piece, say of carrot or whatever, in the mouth. So I told him, there you have to cut the fruits, but they are to be offered for worship. So you cannot eat anything. It is only after the worship is over, then you will be given the blessed that food offering after it is done. So can you do that? He said, okay, yeah, I will do. And then he narrated his experience. Very nice storyteller guy. So he said, many times it is so difficult that I am cutting fruit and feel, well, there is nobody here to see me. If I put a piece of apple in my mouth, who is there to know? Nobody is going to know this. So why not put the piece of apple in my mouth? Nobody is watching me. But then he said, I would realize I am watching. So somebody is watching. I am watching. That I is watching everything. And so God is watching, and God can watch everything. Human beings, with the two eyes, how much can they watch? They cannot watch much. But God, being within us, can watch everything without a problem. It is, like human beings, we think like those children in the school. They were being offered lot of goodies on one that some festivity. So just to keep them disciplined, it's difficult to keep children disciplined. So it is, one teacher wrote where there were apples, take just one, God is watching. And then there was some kid like our Charlie. Yeah. So he wrote where there were cookies, take as many as you want, God busy watching apples. So it is, the human beings like that is fine, that you can watch one thing at a time and not everything. So, but God can watch the whole universe, and that too with full attention and full, visibility everywhere. Nothing is dark there. Everything is very clearly perceived. What can you hide from God? You can hide from the government. You can even maybe hide from IRS. But can you hide from God? No, you cannot hide anything from God. It will catch up with you, because that is the truth. They lived, ate, and travelled with Sri Ramakrishna. What did it matter if he freely visited the private rooms of their household? So, this was their condition. They had seen evidence of this many times. It is all that was quite open. So, and he did not, the women in the household could not think of this Sri Ramakrishna as a man. They took him like one of them. It was very difficult to identify Sri Ramakrishna as just man or just woman. There was no body consciousness, and therefore automatically no gender consciousness. The gender consciousness automatically precedes with body consciousness. It is preceded by body consciousness. I am this body, and therefore I am man, woman, or third gender, whatever. It is, that is, the gender consciousness follows the body consciousness. In the absence of body consciousness, therefore, Sri Ramakrishna didn't have any gender consciousness. So, therefore, he was welcome to go anywhere in their house. So, it is, and there have been incidents that even Mathur Babu could not recognize. It is narrated elsewhere that during the Durga Puja, Sri Ramakrishna just was standing with other women with some woman's dress on him. And then Mathur Babu could not recognize, asked his wife, who was that lady that was standing near you and was doing the worship, was fanning the goddess Durga? Said, lady, oh, see, you also could not recognize him. And not that the distance was big, but yet Sri Ramakrishna's whole appearance was like that, could become man, could become woman, everything, because there was no particular gender identification, because there was no body consciousness. So that was how Sri Ramakrishna was. So, on one hand, we find the manifestation of superhuman, pure, unselfish love for the women of Mathur's family and his behavior with them as a female companion. On the other, we see the master in the midst of men and pandits behaving towards them with incomparable intelligence and divine wisdom. We wonder how it was possible for the master to manifest such different aspects. Who was this master who assumed different forms? And the author was a witness to all these things there. Not this Mathur Babu's episode, but he has, because Mathur Babu had passed away before these people came to see Sri Ramakrishna, but still they had heard this and they had seen many similar incidents, that whether to call Sri Ramakrishna a man or a woman was very, impossible. He is both man, woman, and whatever you would say, and yet none of these. So, in the Dakshineshwar Radha Govinda temple in those days, the image of the deities were brought from the adjacent bedroom to the altar every morning and after midday worship, and the food offering they were returned to that room for rest. After 4 p.m., they were again placed on the altar, and at night, after Vespers and the food offering, they were taken back to the bedroom. One day, someone spilled water on the marble floor of the temple. The priest slipped on the slick floor while carrying the image of Govinda to the bedroom, injuring himself badly and breaking a leg of the image. This accident caused commotion, and the priest trembled with fear. The news reached the temple owners. What could be done? One cannot worship a broken image. What was the solution? Rani Rasmani and Mathur invited prominent pandits of Kolkata for meeting to decide the issue. They also gathered opinions from pandits who could not attend the meeting. What a great uproar, and what a huge waste of money to pay the pandits honoraria. The pandits opened their books and notes, took snuff again and again to stimulate their intellects, and finally gave the verdict: let the broken image be immersed into Ganges and a new one be installed in its place. Accordingly, an image was ordered from a sculptor. When the meeting was over, Mathur said to the Rani, "We have not asked the opinion of the junior priest, that is Sri Ramakrishna." He was priest, but younger, the junior. His brother was the senior priest, elder brother, and he was the junior priest. So, and even later also, even though the elder brother passed away, still Sri Ramakrishna remained, although there wasn't anybody senior, still his name continued, The names have the tendency to stick. The things change, but the names remain. It is that the different rooms, it is now somebody stayed there for some time and it got therefore the name of that person's room. But Tyagananda in Boston said that that now I have been staying there for so many years. Before me, even that Swami Sarvatmananda used to stay in that room. But yet it still gets called Bill's room because he used to stay there. the Donna and Bill, yeah, so the Bill used to live in that room. So it still gets called Bill's room. It is, yeah, that is how the names they stick. And that is, in passing, let me tell that is why the name of God is considered more powerful. Take the name of God and then you can get the God in your grip. So name of God, Saint Tulsidas says, that is why I see that the name is more powerful than the form of God. So that is how you see this name, it stuck there, that it is a young priest. That he was not younger priest then, but still the name continued. When the meeting was over, Mathur said to Rani, yeah, that is. And then, so he asked master's opinion. The master replied in an ecstatic mood, if any one of the Rani's sons-in-law were to break a leg, would she forsake him and put someone else in his place? Wouldn't she rather have him treated by a doctor? Let it be the same in this case. Mend the image and worship it as before. Why should the image be discarded? All were dumbfounded by this solution. This simple and logical answer had not occurred to anyone else. The image is living because of the divine manifestation of Govinda, which is called forth by devotees' deep, heartfelt love and devotion. If a devotee has faith, love and devotion, why would it not be possible for that divine manifestation to exist in the broken image? This is what the scholars, the Pandits were telling was, according to their understanding, wasn't wrong as such. It is because that is how it is told. If you do not have that kind of spontaneous love and devotion, it certainly is not right to worship a broken image. You make it, therefore, get a new one. So, and just to avoid it getting insulted, let it be immersed in the holy river Ganges, and that was the solution. Nothing wrong from the worldly point of view here. But Sri Ramakrishna is feeling the conscious that deity there, a living presence. And so, no, can't be discarded like that. Let us repair it. So that is how the love of Sri Ramakrishna, feeling that the God is really there. It is a real living presence. It is not a picture or just a metal inert image. No, that is the living presence. To see that as living presence makes the worship effective. That is a living presence. Many of us find that, well, that is just an image. But no, actually, if you love, it becomes a living presence. It is, there is that incident in life of Swami Vivekananda, very illustrative incident, that he was in Rajasthan at a place Alwar, and in the court of the king there, he got into conversation with the king. Many other courtiers were there, and the king very strongly put the view that there is no meaning in having the image worship. Images are what is there. God is everywhere, and image is just we make that image. How can that be God? Images cannot be God. Swamiji, he did not give any reply. But what to one of the ministers of the king, he said, well, there is the likeness, the painting of the king hanging there. Why don't you please take it down? And the minister took it from the hook and handed that. As the minister was holding it, Vivekananda says to him, spit on it! Spit on it! How can that minister dare to spit on it? Spit on it! This is just a likeness. This is just a piece of paper or canvas. This is not the your king. King is sitting there. This is just a picture. Why can't you spit on it? And then Swami Vivekananda, he could not. He said, I know you cannot spit on it. Nobody can, nobody should. Because although this is just paper, a likeness of the king, still looking at it, you think of the king. That is how you know that it is always seen. That that gentleman would look at the picture of his little child kept in the wallet, and then would look at it and feel, my dear, so it is my little darling. So this is how the picture inspires that the presence. So picture or likeness or symbol, they are not trivial. They have the capability of invoking the actual presence in your mind. That is why they are so important. It is so real while as you feel the with the in that image, it really becomes all alive for you. It is and I have seen many people, these monks and householders both, because of a long association and loving association with an image, they could see it as alive. That like one lady, I said, well, you can stay longer, then later on somebody will drop you in Connecticut. She said, no, I have to go because my child is hungry there. And I thought, child? Who is child at your home? I didn't see anybody. No, my little baby Krishna, I have to feed him. Now it was really, she was feeling that, it is not that she was shamming or just saying. When you have the devotion, then all this becomes real for you. It is so for Sri Ramakrishna it was real something. So he gave this solution. In fact, as you see that if a devotee has faith, love and devotion, why would it not be possible for that divine manifestation to exist in the broken image? Out of God's grace and compassion, the merit of or demerit of a broken image could by no means affect that divine manifestation. Moreover, as long as this image has been worshipped with love as God, can the love of a true devotee be destroyed as soon as one of its limbs is broken? The Vaishnava teachers advise devotees to serve God as they serve themselves. These teachers believe that whatever service one offers to the Lord with love, He accepts with love. One should develop this attitude. So this is how the worship is accorded with love. Then that act becomes worship. If there is the loving relationship between them. It is so many such incidents are there that Sri Ramakrishna would see that as the loving presence, the divine, alive and loving presence, where ordinarily people would see just a metal or wooden or clay likeness. It is so. It is like that. It is what is there if you go a little deeper. What is this? You love a person. Everybody says, well, that I love my parents, I love my children, I love my spouse, I love my friend, all that. Now, but what is it? Is the body your mom? The body is just some structure made of bones, blood, and all that. But that structure, that image, that idol made of bones and blood and such material, it is just a different material with which that idol is made, and a robotic is connected to it. So like a robot, it moves. You see, the robot moves. They are put, all this. Some children had done here many robots in our children's camp last year. So it is like that. It is just same matter, and so, but you feel that is my mom, that is my child, that is my spouse, that is my friend. It appears to be real. Even that is my enemy, that also appears real. It is just an image. So the same thing with God you can have, that deep connectivity. It is not just an image. One has to develop that love. Through love it becomes then real. It becomes real. Otherwise it is not real. You do not pay any attention at all. Thousands and thousands of people are walking and traveling in the subways and trams and trains in New York City. It is a sea of humanity. It is, and you don't care whether that person on the side, who is he, what is he. You just mind your own business, do things. Even though that person is very much alive, but who cares? There is, it's just another piece around, that's all. It is because there is no connection, no love, no appreciation of it. So it happens, just it is the regular day at work, that's all. There is nothing more to be thought about it. But when there is a connection, it becomes different. It becomes then something that concerns us. It becomes alive. We become alive to it. So, in the same way, the devotion makes that image alive. It is very difficult for many, especially in the West, who have been given this potion or whatever, rather, let us say poison, that no God can be in the likeness. And God cannot be in anything in that sense. And then God is in everything. It is no, the commandment says that, yeah, well, see the inner meaning of that commandment, that you shall not make any likeness. It is, and yet the saints always speak of the imageries. Why so? Because that is not the idea. The idea in that commandment is, do not confine God there. You can have the feeling of God through that. After all, when you think, you are making a mental image of it. Whenever we think of God, what do? In our mind we make an image. And there is no escape from this, friends. So therefore, here we should see that when one does worship lovingly, it becomes all a real something, more real than what otherwise people would consider things to be real. So that was what Sri Ramakrishna is mentioning. It is therefore the injunction found in Smriti scriptures that says that one should not use a broken image to offer worship to a deity must have been meant for a novice who has not yet developed love for God and has just entered the path of devotion. Yeah. So for that scriptures are okay. They're not that they are wrong, but there is a domain of applicability there. However, some egotistic pundits differed from the master's opinion, and some did not clearly express their views lest they get less of an honorarium. But those who had attained a little genuine knowledge and devotion through learning highly admired the master's solution. Later, the master himself skillfully mended the image, and the worship of Govinda continued as usual. When the sculptor brought the new image, it was kept in a corner of the Govinda temple and was not installed. After Rani Rasmani and Mathur had both passed away, some of their descendants from time to time tried to make arrangements to install that new image, but on every occasion they were forced to postpone it because of some mishap in their families. So even now, the new image of Govinda is kept in the same way. There is a footnote. Later, the new image was installed on the main altar, and the broken image was placed in the room at the left corner of the Radha Govinda temple. This is a note by the translator. You can now also go and see that. The image that was repaired by Sri Ramakrishna, that image is also there. And many offer, thinking of Sri Ramakrishna's that special act, pray to that image more lovingly. Anyway, the point is made here, and here this chapter on Mathur Babu ends, that there will be other manifestations of Sri Ramakrishna's attitude as Guru. We shall try to see them. As I mentioned, Mathur Babu is a special prototype. It will continue, that discussion about this Mathur, how the learning gradually took place, and so forth. Very interesting. The development happens gradually, slowly. You sow a seed, and gradually you see the growth happens. So, the transformation was happening in Mathur. The life was changing, and we will witness how many of these things happened there, and all could not be really recorded either. So, it is the next chapter is that this relationship of Master with Mathur, and how Master bestows his grace on Mathur. So, it is that will be the chapter as a Guru Master bestows grace on Mathur. So, from next Tuesday, with the grace of the Master, we shall start studying that chapter. Let us meditate for 30 seconds, and if you have any question, please feel free to ask it. Yes, please. Very good. No questions today. So let us conclude with the concluding prayers. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.